I am now going to explain the mechanics of coMra-Therapy. In a nutshell, coMra-Therapy works by firstly providing energetic support for diseased cells to restore their respective functions, and secondly by initiating neurochemical messaging cascades that rally support of all vital systems of an organism. But to put things into perspective, let us briefly consider disease itself. It is important to understand that all diseases, independent of their origin, at a certain stage manifest in cells that constitute our bodies. The finely tuned biochemical orchestra of all the vital processes in a cell goes out of balance. As a result, the normal functioning of cells become impaired, and we start to have physical symptoms such as headache, inability to digest food, or insomnia. Normally, if we correct the primary cause of the disease and given proper rest, cells can regenerate themselves back to normal condition, or even adapt and become stronger. However, if the stress continues day after day or even years after years, immune system inevitably becomes overworked and depleted due to constant state of high alert. At this point, the gates are open for any virus or bacteria to intrude. Alternatively, the weakest organ or a whole subsystem starts to fail. To summarize, a diseased cell doesn't mean dead cell. Given proper support, it will regenerate itself back to normal state. And this is exactly what coMra-Therapy does. Let us consider the first component, infrared laser, and the energetic support it provides to cells. An infrared laser diode is the central component of coMra-Therapy. It sets the overall pace and coherency of the healing process. The primary role of the infrared laser is to increase efficiency of the production of the universal fuel of all living cells, the ATP molecule. Adenosine triphosphate is an energy currency inside all living cells, and its importance is difficult to overestimate, for it powers all processes that are needed for a cell to grow and thrive. Energy stored in the chemical bonds of ATP is released when ATP breaks down into its constituent parts, adenosine diphosphate and phosphate. And that energy can be used for performing work: muscular contraction, digestion, working of the immune system, vision, wound repair, synthesis of proteins, nerve impulse conduction, blood coagulation, plus many other processes of what we call life. None of them is possible without ATP. The rate of synthesis of ATP inside cells from the recycled parts of adenosine diphosphate and phosphate is most crucial for a healthy cell. Daily generation volume of ATP is huge, and reaches almost the organism's weight in humans. Not surprising that ATP depletion in a cell is a universal red flag for any type of disorder in any type of cell. Once ATP drops beyond certain critical level, all energy-dependent functions cease and the cell dies. The fact that low energy light of certain wavelengths or colors stimulates ATP production was discovered in the 1960s, and this experimental evidence forms the foundation of the low-level laser therapy, the precursor of coMra-Therapy. Experiments have demonstrated that mitochondrion, a cell's ATP factory, can absorb light's photons of certain wavelengths and increase output of ATP. And this is a point of primary importance. By restoring ATP content in a cell, the infrared laser can support functioning of any type of cell, be it in muscle, bone, nerves, or skin. Therefore, the universal nature of healing ability of light should not come as a surprise. Since the initial discovery of therapeutic action of low-level lasers, vast body of experimental evidence was collected by scientists. Clinical trials demonstrated efficacy of a low-level laser therapy for over 100 medical conditions: allergy, arthritis, asthma, cancer, cerebral palsy, diabetes. The list goes on and on. Even simple listing of the conditions would take several pages. In coMra-Therapy, we employ laser diode of the near-infrared part of the optical spectrum. And because biological tissues are most transparent to such light, the infrared laser can deliver energy directly to deeply lying organs, blood vessels, muscle and bones without any destructive intervention, provided it is fully coherent, and this is dependent on spectral width. But despite numerous studies, the nature of the primary interaction of light with ATP-producing enzymes until very recently remained uncertain. One experimental fact, however, is most interesting. Effect of infrared laser was found to be strongly enhanced in presence of magnetic field. Therefore, let us consider the next component of coMra-Therapy, the magnetic field. In coMra-Therapy, magnetic field works hand in hand with the infrared laser, supporting the process of ATP synthesis in a cell. Therapy with magnetic field, or magnetotherapy, has a very long history, but the term itself appeared in the late 19th century. After the Second World War, a number of research groups in Japan, Soviet Union and Eastern Europe investigated magnetotherapy. By 1970s, magnetotherapy became widely spread and was shown to be effective for conditions such as diabetic neuropathy, wounds and fractures, chronic pain, osteoarthritis, and others. And in the 1990s, the effect of infrared laser and magnetic field were found to be mutually enhancing. Magnetic infrared laser therapy, or MIL therapy, the immediate precursor to coMra-Therapy, was discovered. But the actual physical process that would lead to chemical changes and modifications of cell functions was still unknown. In 2005, a most fascinating discovery was made. Experiments have demonstrated that ATP production in cells increased by 2-3 times in the presence of magnetic isotopes of metal cofactors. The authors of the discovery suggested that so-called radical pair mechanism is responsible for the observed effect. But as we know from physical chemistry and quantum physics, the radical pair mechanisms directly links the combined effect of light and magnetic field on the rate of chemical processes. I will go into more details in the following presentations. Here I want to give you just a general picture. Along with the normal pathway of ATP generation, there is a possibility for a complementary pathway of ATP synthesis through inducing a higher energy state of the reactants using laser excitation. However, this state of excitation is extremely short-lived, only a few nanoseconds, and not all molecules have enough time to be converted to the final product, the ATP molecule. But magnetic field extends the lifetime of radical pairs by more than 1,000 times, enough to complete the process of ATP synthesis through their higher energy pathway. To summarize the action of infrared laser and magnetic field, they both pass through the skin, deep into body, and directly restore ATP deficit in cells caused by a disease. This is why very often an immediate relief is reported by coMra-Therapy users after treatment.